Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We are still in the world of World's Finest. Isn't that right, Peter?
Indeed, and it is the finest of worlds.
Yes, and this week we are moving on to issue 246 of World's Finest Comics, published on the 19th of May, 1977. And it's another Neil Adams cover, and Peter's going to tell us about it very quickly.
At the top, we discover it's a dollar comic. There's a red DC bullet in the top left. The banner comes across saying Dollar Comics, other corner, September, $1, number 246. World's Finest. And then we've got some disembodied heads telling us some of the people who are appearing in this issue. And they are Wonder Woman, Black Canary, Green Arrow, and the Vigilante. But the main image in the cover features our world's finest duo. It's Superman and Batman, but it's not just them in the cover, no. Superman is front and centre. He looks shocked because in front of him is Superman, who is chained up and looks like kryptonite chains, perhaps. Green chains. And it looks like he's been caught because he's turning around, because bursting into this scene are both Wonder Woman and Batman. And they're saying,
"So, Superman, this is the awful secret you've been hiding all these years.
And you dare call yourself a champion of justice?" And this story, of course, is approved by the Comics Code Authority. The banner says, "Revealed at last, the truth about Superman's twin brother." Crikey jings.
The fascinating detail here is that Superman appears to be holding a small bowl of molasses trickling over his hand. Yeah, but we'll talk about the story because it runs between this issue and next issue, and indeed the story that we're covering in this week and next week's episodes run between this issue and the next issue.
Yes.
We're jumping ahead and doing the Wonder Woman two-parter that ranges over 246 and 247. This is a fascinating World's Finest story because it's basically the untold story about Superman's hunchback, former hermit twin brother.
Gasp.
It seems. It's quite interesting. It's quite horrendous. It's very World's Finest. Kurt Schaffenberger on artwork, so Batman's ears look weird. And there's all sorts of stuff. Basically, it turns out Soup's had a twin brother called Kor-El.
There you go.
Who was sent off a little from Krypton a little bit after him. That's the short version. And it's so World's Finest it hurts. We're not going to spoil it.
No.
We'll tell you how the story is resolved next week.
Yep.
It's a two-parter.
It's very Bob Haney.
It's very Bob Haney. And Pete and I had a bit of a chat before we started recording, and we're kind of just ruminating. Like, the Earth B phrase gets hurled about quite often, doesn't it? And Pete and I have sort of disputed this as we've gone on with the podcast, because you know, people would say, "Oh, Earth B, that's how you explain Sergeant Rock and Wildcat being in Brave and the Bold." And we've sort of read those stories and say, no, there are two Sergeant Rocks and there's an Earth-1 Wildcat.
Yes.
You don't have to invoke Earth B. But I think with a lot of the World's Finest stories, more than anything else, you really have to invoke Earth B, don't you?
Yeah, I've always felt that the World's Finest stories are kind of incongruous to everything else that's happening in the DC universe, because it seems like Superman and Batman are just hanging out all the time.
Yes.
So it's weird. It's like it is its own continuity.
Yeah.
But yes, we will be diving back into some of these stories later on. So yeah, good fun.
So yeah, there's a good one bit I want to highlight in this one. Even Green Arrow looks weird because his mask is drawn differently. It's a good bit when Green Arrow is shouting at Superman, and we'll talk some more about that story next week. So we then come to the Black Canary story for this issue, where she basically seems to be some sort of werewolf situation, isn't it?
Yep. Again, we've got Mike Nasser and Terry Austin on the art duties here. It's written by Jerry Conway. Interestingly, Terry Austin's credited first, as opposed to Mike Nasser.
Yeah, I saw that.
Usually it's penciler then inker, but I don't know if there's been a bit more of a divvying up of the responsibilities here.
I don't know. That was interesting.
Again, artwork's absolutely astounding and beautiful in this. I mean, it features a kind of werewolf character, so that's always very exciting.
Yep. Not to be irredeemable about it, but there are some astonishing images of Dinah. Like, don't know who these... Oh, I can imagine maybe who they thought they were targeting these stories at. I don't know, but...
My goodness, sir, calm down.
Woo! Zoo wee mama. to coin a phrase. We'll quickly draw a veil over that and move on to the Green Arrow story.
Also written by Jerry Conway, and the art's from Mike Nasser and Terry Austin in that order this time.
Yes.
And again, it features the villain from the previous issue, Slingshot. So that's quite fun. There's a really fun panel.
Are we wondering about the same panel here?
I think so. Where Green Arrow is literally hanging off the edge of a building just by his feet. It's hilarious.
It's wonderful. Yes.
I mean, speaking of someone who once tore his Achilles tendon, I can tell you that's going to be agony doing that.
And listeners, you might be surprised to learn that Peter did it whilst hanging off a rooftop by his feet.
So I can't recommend this. Even though the Comics Code seem to have approved it, I cannot recommend this. There's
an awful lot in this issue which the Comics Code seem to have maybe, I don't know, did they hide a couple of pages from them? I don't know. What I'll probably do on the socials this week, listeners, like I've done the last couple of weeks with the World's Finest, I'll post maybe a couple of pages on the socials from the stories we haven't read in full.
Yes.
Just maybe the ones we've highlighted, just so you can get an idea of how much fun they are. But the artwork is gorgeous in this. Mike Nasser and Terry Austin, what a team.
I think the most shocking thing about this Green Arrow story is Green Arrow stops the villain Slingshot by actually shooting an arrow at him, an actual arrow that goes through his arm.
Yes.
At the very end. No net arrow, no boxing glove arrow, no trick arrow. It just says at the end, sometimes you have to do the job yourself, no frills, no gimmicks.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Where did this come from?
I know, it's cool, because the policeman was like, why didn't you just grab him with a net or something? And we'll now cut to Chuck saying those lines for us. No, we won't. Chuck, you need to do the World's Finest stories, please.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You and Kel should just start your own, I don't know, Ollie and Dinah podcast and just do all the World's Finest stories. I will listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we then come to the Vigilante story, but what we discovered very late in our preparation when we're looking at these issues is that this is not a one-off Vigilante story like the ones we've done recently.
No.
It runs through the next two issues and it's very arc-driven, so it won't really make much of a difference to the listeners, I suppose, but in a rescheduling of Peter and I's plans,
yes,
we had planned originally to do the Vigilante story from issue 246, then do the Wonder Woman two-parter over 2 episodes, and then continue with Vigilante, but we've realised that Vigilante runs over the next 3 issues. So what we're going to do is, this week we're going to do the Wonder Woman story from issue 246. We will do the conclusion of the Wonder Woman story from issue 247 next week, and then the week after that we will cover all 3 chapters of the Vigilante story, and then we might have a little
deviation, yes,
before we come back to do the Wonder Woman stories from issue 248 and 249, just to get them all out of the way and keep everything tidy.
Mm-hmm.
But we're maybe doing more of the Wonder Woman World's Finest stories than we originally anticipated doing at this point, but it gets them done. They're good episodes that are coming up. They're really good, and it means, big Wonder Woman summer, big Vigilante summer. Why not?
Absolutely, yes. I like doing these mini seasons. It's quite good.
Yes.
Because if we did everything absolutely chronologically, then it would be all over the place and wouldn't make any sense. So this is fun.
Yeah. Obviously, it does mean there's a bit of a longer gap between issues of All-Star Comics and Freedom Fighters and Secret Society. But, as Pete says, by doing them a few issues together at a time, we think it's for us at least, it seems to be a better way of doing it rather than just hopping around doing everything month by month and trying to keep everything in our head, which would be very, very difficult.
Yes.
Listeners, if that's working for you, let us know. And if it's not working for you, we apologise. So, with all of that scene setting, we arrive at the Wonder Woman story, and it kicks off with a caption.
Torn from the headlines of World War II, another in the battle-scarred adventures of Wonder Woman.
And we get the title straight away, and the title is...
The Baron's name is Blitzkrieg.
And we start off, and it looks like an office, and it's on fire. We can see flames licking all round the edges. There's smoke in the air, curtains on fire in the background. And Wonder Woman is standing. It looks like she's actually standing in the middle of the flames and in the process of falling backwards. And she's being confronted by a huge, tall, muscular figure in what looks like yellow spandex. He's got very thick calves, I suddenly notice. Sort of bronze golden boots and gloves and trunks and gauntlets. And as we can see, what looks like a swastika on the upper part of his right arm. He has a very Iron Man-like mask where you can basically see an eye slot and a mouth slot. He has a large metallic-looking cross on his chest, which is the same colour as the cape that hangs from his shoulders. And yes, listeners, it's the Earth 2 podcast debut of Baron Blitzkrieg. Instrumental in Our Man becoming one of my absolute favourite superheroes.
There you go.
But that's a few years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is going on, and Baron Blitzkrieg is saying to Wonder Woman,
So, this is the much heralded Super Amazon.
We shall see how you fare against the finest specimen of the Aryan master race. And if you survive, you shall be my slave.
And Wonder Woman, on the back foot, is thinking, he's as strong, as fast as I am. Hero, help me. Can I defeat him? Or is this the end of Wonder Woman? And then we get another little caption box.
A sinister secret origin of the Third Reich's newest and most powerful master villain. Reported by Jerry Conway, writer, Don Heck, penciler, and Vince Coletta, inker.
Awesome. Now, Pete, am I right in thinking, is this the first Don Heck story we've done on the show?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think it might be, yeah.
Interesting.
I am a big Don Heck fan.
Yes, because he drew Iron Man for a long time, didn't he?
He certainly did, yes.
He was on the Avengers too, am I right in thinking?
He took over the Avengers from Kirby, yeah, and his early Iron Man stuff's just phenomenal.
Agreed.
And when I was young, one of the first comics I remember reading were Don Heck issues of The Flash, so obviously that's a firm mainstay in my mind. And also he drew my favourite issue of all time, which I think I've mentioned in the podcast before, and that's the debut of Wonder Man in the Avengers. I know, folks, it's not a DC comic, don't write in.
Avengers issue 9. Wouldn't it have been nice of someone to buy you a foreign reprint of that for your birthday a couple of years ago?
It was very nice to receive a foreign reprint of that issue for my birthday a few years ago. I believe I thanked the person profusely.
David, foreign reprints, Steele. That's me.
I'm going to change your name to International Edition.
Yes, David, the International Edition Steele. If I was forming a band, it would be this.
That's a good name, actually, yeah.
Did I mention that? I think I told you this, that I got a French edition of the Avengers Defenders War on the post the other day.
Yes,
Did I tell you about that? I did.
Exciting.
I wasn't sure if I had or not, yes.
Boom.
And I got an offer on eBay yesterday for, I can't remember the title, it's another French comic, and I'm probably going to buy it. I'm probably going to take the offer because it's the French reprint of when Nighthawk joins the Defenders, and I think that'd be quite a good thing to have.
How is your French, by the way?
It's all right.
Okay.
If I get stuck, I just take a photograph and send it to Kels.
Comme ci, comme ça. Fair enough.
What does I say, Kelly Blair? And she'll tell me.
Good.
Anyway, God, we better get back to the story. Baron Blitzkrieg. Yes,
gasp.
gosh, exciting. Over the page, a caption reads,
Chapter 1. Conception. Night and fog. In wartime London, the combination produces a strangely gothic mood this damp April evening in 1942. For General Adrian Hawkins, USA, the effect is still unsettling, despite his 3 months' tenure as liaison officer for the British and American Allied Command.
and we see a jeep driving up outside a very, gothic is an appropriate word, a very old-fashioned looking building here, American jeep being driven by another soldier, and we see General Hawkins, who's a tall, quite thin-looking chap with a very neat moustache, wearing glasses, stepping out of the jeep as the captioning continues.
He was born in Chicago and trained at West Point. He is not a man of continental tastes and has never quite adjusted to European styles. In short, he's not a happy man, despite his high position, and he longs to return to his wife and his 4-month-old son.
And we see the general advancing through the fog and the mist, passing an armed sentry as he enters this beautifully large building.
Tragically, General Hawkins will never see either of them again, for tonight he is going to die.
And we get a close-up here of the sentry, who has seen something out of the corner of his eye. He's detected a movement. He thinks,
What the? Someone in those shadows.
he advances, saying,
Who goes there? Answer me, or I'll...
and a fist appears and clocks him on the side of the head with a crack, and he drops, and we see the poor unfortunate lying stretched out on the ground, and a shape looming over him. It's a slight golden tint to the edges, and we can see this all seems to have been observed by General Hawkins, who's looking out the window. We then see the figure that's taken down the guard jumping through the fog, and we're then inside the building with General Hawkins, who hears a noise behind him, a slight tick, and he turns, saying, Corporal, is that you? And then he has seen a tall figure, very like the man I described in the splash image, tall, wearing sort of golden yellow armour, orange bronzy gloves, pink cape, a pink cross on his chest, which we also now see as a slight eagle detail at the top. And General Hawkins sees all this, takes it all in and says, Good God, who are you? What are you doing here? The new arrival gets a close-up as he says,
My name, Herr General, is Blitzkrieg, and I have come to kill you. Though a soldier, General Hawkins is not a violent man. His career has been primarily administrative, not combative. At first, he doesn't quite comprehend the intruder's words, and when he finally does, he has little time to do more than scream.
Yes, because with a
Scratch!
Sound effect, we see poor General Hawkins being thrown through a window, and indeed, we can make out a very slight, yeah! His glasses go flying and everything. Oh my gosh. Top of page 4.
Dawn, 6 hours later.
Yes, we can see there's a crowd assembled outside some military vehicles. We can see the General's body still lying on the pavement, being examined. There's a lot of folks standing around. We can see the familiar figures of Major Steve Trevor and Yeoman Diana Prince. And Trevor is talking to a man with an extraordinary moustache and a sort of very, very charming burgundy overcoat and hat, who is saying, "That's how the constable found him, Major Trevor. At first, we thought it was suicide, but when you study the body, you can see he couldn't have jumped." And then Diana kicks in here saying, "Not backwards. Then you're suggesting he was killed, Mr. McBride?" "I was speaking to the Major, Yeoman Prince. If I had meant to address myself to you, I would have. But I hardly see the point in seeking the counsel of a woman, and a yeoman at that,"
Easy, McBride,
says Steve, stepping in.
"You may be head of British intelligence, but Diana is my assistant, and I value her opinion. Is that clear?"
And Diana takes her leave, saying, "Never mind, Steve. I'm sure Mr. McBride would rather talk to you alone." And then she thinks, "Besides, I want to look at General Hawkins' room before the intelligence boys tramp all over it, destroying any evidence that might be." And then she is moved inside, and she sees a mark on the floor. She thinks, this stain. She kneels down to examine it. Dried seawater. Hawkins' shoes were clean, which means this stain was left by his killer, who'd very recently stepped in the sea. Now, if I can... And she looks around and sees Hawkins' attaché case, empty. If the General's murderer has the Auchinleck file, it could mean disaster for the British 8th Army. And she gets a very dynamic close-up as she thinks, "Wonder Woman, you're needed." And over the page, we see an advertisement where we can go and see Pele on some kind of soccer tour. I'll need to send a photograph out to my pal Barry. And below that, there's a DC subscription advert with the emphasis on Superman family, which Pete and I will get into before too long.
Yeah.
But anyway, top of page 5, there's a caption.
And so, several investigatory phone calls, and 4 hours later...
We see Wonder Woman standing on the wing of her invisible plane as it flies, above the coast. Basically, we can see some cliffs and the beach and the sea, and she's thinking, "The British Channel Patrol had a sub sighting in this area last night. That sub might have dropped off Hawkins' murderer. And if it did, there could well be evidence of a landing. I must find the killer before he has time to relay the information in the Auchinleck file to German intelligence. Merciful Minerva! Over there!" She spotted something poking out of a cave. She jumps down to the beach and finds a dinghy. Then the killer did land here. And by dinghy we mean small boat, not in the Glaswegian sense of ignoring someone.
Indeed, yes. Every day in education.
Yes. Wonder Woman's thoughts continue. "Someone in the area must have seen him, helped him. Find that person and..." But she's interrupted by a caption.
She doesn't so much hear the attack as sense it. And sensing it, she spins instinctively, protecting herself and striking, all in the same fluid motion.
Because a man has arrived and tried to strike her with a shovel, there is a
Clang!
As she manages to deflect it with her bracelet, and as Peter said from the caption, she has turned and spun and struck and punched the guy and sent him flying.
Pow!
The spade goes flying and the captioning returns.
Her grace is the grace of a tiger, swift and devastating.
Yes, because we see the new arrival go flying backwards and collide with the foot of the cliff and a
thunk.
And then we get a new caption, a large caption, which reads,
Chapter 2, Birth.
The guy who Wonder Woman has just sent flying pulls a pistol from his coat. He's describing now. He's got a red sort of beanie hat, a long green overcoat, heavy green work trousers, a big white chunky jumper. He pulls a pistol and says,
Think you're high and mighty, don't you now? We'll see how high and mighty after you've had a taste of this.
And he fires his pistol, but Wonder Woman deflects with her bracelet, saying, Really now, little man, hasn't this gone far enough? Bullets and bracelets were one of my favourite games back in Paradise Island, but here in Man's World, it's becoming something of a bore.
She ain't human. Cool, blimey, I'm getting out of here.
And he starts to run away as Wonder Woman says, Oh, no, you're not, little man. My magic lasso will see to that. And she ropes him, pulling him up dead. And then she continues, Now that my lariat has settled around you, you're compelled to speak the truth. She pulls the guy in closer and says, Now, why did you attack me? And what do you know about the man who landed here last night?
I'm just a poor, honest fisherman, Mum, who... that is, I'm a paid agent of the Third Reich, here to help any spy they care to send over. Like that bloke what came in yesterday. The one they call... Mum, please don't make me. He'll kill me. He will. He's a baron, Mum. A baron.
Say his name.
I don't know. It's blooming. It's Blitzkrieg, Mum. Baron Blitzkrieg.
Right. Now, listeners, we're going to have a very quick poll. Should Peter do the resulting flashback, which runs over the next 3 and a bit pages? Should he do it in the Cockney voice of this fisherman, or should he just do it in a standard narrator's voice? Vote now.
And the votes are in. It's standard narrator's voice. Thanks, everyone.
Well done, everyone. Peter's very relieved. So yes, there's a rounded edge to the next sequence of panels as the narration flashback of the origin of Baron Blitzkrieg kicks in.
Stumbling, the frightened fifth columnist begins the story of a Prussian nobleman who became a favourite of Hitler in the early days of the Reich.
And there's a nice establishing shot of a big old fancy house, and on the next panel we see some Nazi staff cars arriving outside this big house castle type thing. We can see Hitler waving to the Baron, who returns the wave from a balcony, and the captioning returns.
A baron whose true name is unknown, about whom little is known, save that Hitler used his castle as a retreat, a sort of Stuttgart, away from Stuttgart. They were friends, this madman and this noble, friends of convenience, perhaps, but also friends of ideology.
And we see Hitler and a few of his pals, and we don't see the face of this Baron at this point. We see them all standing around a table, obviously enjoying a meal, all saluting and toasting each other. The captioning continues.
And so, when Hitler invaded Poland and began his purging of the Jews, his final solution, the Baron was given a reward for his loyalty to his Führer. He was named a commandant of a death camp.
I don't really want to describe the panel here because to me it's trivialising something appalling, so we'll just keep going with the captioning.
Ah, how he loved it. The perfect resolution to the Prussian dream, complete and total domination over men. The power of life. The sweet glory of death.
And there's a couple of panels, listeners, that we're not going to detail of. There's nothing desperate unpleasant, but it's depicting a very awful, to put it mildly, chapter of history, so we're just going to gloss over that and return to the captioning.
And yes, there was the profit to be made. As commandant, he could demand a percentage of the money taken from the Jews, in the form of wedding rings, gold teeth, and so forth. It would have been a wonderful way to spend the war years, if it hadn't been for that one young Jew who broke away from the terrified herd, who struck out with a flung bottle, and was shot down in the same instant. The Jew who was killed 1 second too late. The Jew who destroyed the Baron's face.
Yes, in over a sequence of panels, we see a young man throwing a bottle, obviously with something vile inside it, at the Baron, the boy being shot, bottle breaking in the direction of the Baron's face. The Baron put his gloved hands up to try and protect himself and failing. The captioning returns.
Hitler ordered the Reich's finest surgeons to save his noble friend, and though they salvaged the Baron's eyesight, nothing could repair the ravaged face.
Yes, and we see over a couple of panels the operation, presumably the plastic surgery and all that taking place. The Baron sitting up in his hospital bed with his arm over his face while Hitler does some shouting. The captioning returns.
Perhaps the Führer's next decision was made out of some strange twisted compassion. But more likely Hitler saw the Baron now as damaged property, fit only for use as a guinea pig. On the Führer's command, the Baron was given a series of experimental and agonizing injections, composed of drugs designed to siphon the mind's mental energy into the body's cells, giving the human user full control of his body's resources, allowing him to become super strong in an instant, accomplishing years of physical therapy in seconds.
Yeah, and there's one very interesting panel here which we'll probably put on the socials this week of a couple of Germanic scientists and Hitler observing as the Baron, his face still hidden in shadows and by his arm, etc., sort of crackles with a pink energy and there's a golden glow all around him as he grows bigger and stronger and sees clothes tearing under his muscular frame, and the captioning returns.
Transformed, the Baron was no longer a useless cripple. He became a new tool for the Reich, a being capable of superhuman efforts for limited periods of time. A creature of such power and lightning speed, he could only be renamed Blitzkrieg, the human thunderbolt.
And we see Hitler and Baron Blitzkrieg giving the salute to each other, and we get a good clear shot of the Baron's costume, which, as I've described already, has swastika bands on the gauntlets, a Germanic eagle, atop an iron cross on his chest, pink cape, the golden armour, etc.
Voice halting and broken, the small man finishes his tale, explaining how Baron Blitzkrieg was sent to England as a super spy.
And we cut back to the present as the English fisherman continues.
To find out what the Allies plan to do in North Africa, Rommel's beaten them bloody. And the Baron, he's to get the what for Britain's counter-attack. And once he knows that, he's to kill the bloke what's in charge.
Great hero! It's worse than I'd anticipated. General Sir Claude Auchinleck is Commander-in-Chief in the Middle East, and if what you say is correct, Auchinleck will be killed. And Wonder Woman starts walking forward, back towards her invisible plane. Looks like she's taken the fisherman lad with her. And there's a quick dissolve.
And after the Amazon has delivered her prisoner to Scotland Yard, she speeds across London to the British Army Staff Building.
And we see her dropping from her invisible plane as she takes in what's going on and thinks, it's in flames. Blitzkrieg must have arrived and attacked. The question is, has he succeeded? Is Sir Claude dead or alive? And we can see some plucky British wartime firemen directing their fire hoses at the burning building, some officers standing, and one of them looks like it could be Steve Trevor because Wonder Woman runs past him and he says,
Wonder Woman, what on earth?
No time to talk, Steve. A man may be dying in there. And that takes us to the top of page 11 and another caption.
Chapter 3, and Baptism.
And only I can save him, says Wonder Woman, following on from what she was saying at the bottom of the previous page. She leaps through a window to see Baron Blitzkrieg standing amongst the flames of the burning building, holding a military officer by the scruff of his jacket. The Baron turns and seeing Wonder Woman and exclaims,
Fussies, Wonder Woman. I was hoping we would encounter each other, Fraulein, though I could have wished for less distracting circumstances. I have wondered how we would fare in battle, and now I think we shall find out.
And at that, he throws the body of what's presumably General Sir Claude Auchinleck towards Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman thinks, caught me off guard. Athena, help me. Blitzkrieg's even stronger than I expected. If I'm to win, I'll have to use my every skill, with all the power at my command. At that point, she lays the body of General Auchinleck, if it is him, on the ground. She thinks, and there'll be no better time to start than right now. And she turns on the Baron and punches him with a... And he exclaims... And at the top of page 12, he bends down and picks up a filing cabinet, saying,
Sir good, Fraulein, you have given the first blow. Yet I need not remind you it matters not who strikes first, but rather who strikes last.
And he throws the filing cabinet at Wonder Woman. It collides with a... Remember, there's flames going on all around while this is taking place. Wonder Woman thinks, using his mental energies to summon enormous strength. I can't move quickly enough to... Oh, she can't move quickly enough because she's been already struck with a filing cabinet.
Stunned, the Amazon falls, her body momentarily paralyzed, as...
The Baron stands over her, saying,
You see, Fraulein, I am the living embodiment of Aryan purity, the Führer's great ideal, the perfect warrior of a master race. None may defeat me, least of all, a female.
And we then see Wonder Woman's hand reaching for a bit of rubble. Obviously, remember the building's on fire, it's starting to collapse. And she thinks, I disagree, Aryan. And she brings the bit of rubble up, throws it at the Baron's head as the caption reads,
With the unerring aim developed on an island where sport relieves the tensions released in war, Wonder Woman lets fly.
Yes, and the chunk of masonry takes the front of Baron Blitzkrieg's face mask off. The flames, obviously, are upsetting him. My caption reads,
And...
He brings his hands up to cover his face as Wonder Woman throws the filing cabinet away and the Baron is screaming in pain.
My face! My God, not my face! Can't let anyone see my face! My face! My face!
Wonder Woman gets to her feet, lifts up the body of Auchinleck, thinking, Mysteries of Pluto! He's fled! And all because his mask came off? May I live 1,000 years, I'll never understand man's vanity. And she does a quick check of Auchinleck and thinks, This officer's alive! I can only hope I can save General Auchinleck as well! He's got to be the Baron's next target. Ah, right, listeners, I've had it wrong there for the last couple of pages. It wasn't General Auchinleck. It was just some poor unfortunate who happened to be there. I hope he's all right. Gosh, right, anyway, there's a caption.
As night climbs from the eastern sky, hours later...
Yes, we see Steve and Yeoman Diana Prince being driven along in the back of a car. Steve is saying,
I know what Wonder Woman told me, Diana, but I still can't quite believe it. A Nazi super agent able to summon the strength or speed of 12 men?
and we see that Steve is actually holding, it's not very clear from the colouring, Steve is holding Baron Blitzkrieg's mask. And if I look back at the previous couple of panels, and I can actually see it lying on the floor. So obviously Wonder Woman must have picked that up. That's not very clear. Okay. They get out of the car. Steve continues.
You must admit, it's incredible.
So is the idea of a Wonder Woman, Major Trevor. But you believe in her, don't you?
I have to, Yeoman. If only because she once saved my life. What do you mean once, Steve? Anyway.
A bit of editorializing there from Peter Watson.
As for Baron Blitzkrieg, I may believe he exists, but I'm not sure I can convince General Sir Claude Auchinleck. Never mind the Prime Minister. Churchill isn't the sort of man who... Diana, is something wrong?
Yes, because he's noticed Diana's looking to the right. She suddenly yells, Steve, a grenade! Get down! She shoves Major Trevor to the floor. Both of their hats fly off, which is something that always amuses me. And the grenade that we see flying into view collides with the car they've just got out of, which explodes with a... Oh my gosh. I hope their colleague is all right. He looks like he caught a fair bit of the blow. And then we see a figure zooming in, a golden blur rushing past Steve and Diana. Diana thinks, something moving at super speed, and it isn't my Justice Society colleague, the Flash, and an asterisk takes to a caption which reads,
Seen in All-Star Comics every 60 days, says Jack C. Harris.
And Diana's thoughts continue, no, it's Johnny Quick. No, it isn't Johnny Quick, although you could be forgiven for thinking it's Baron Blitzkrieg. He's regained his mask. And while the sentries are still groggy from the explosion, he's going to attack the Prime Minister. And we see Baron Blitzkrieg fixing his mask back into position. He really does look like Iron Man in this panel.
Yes.
Diana rushes to a nearby alleyway, which we've got plenty of in London, and she's thinking, unconsciously I've been expecting this, ever since Steve told me Auchinleck would be meeting with Churchill tonight. Blitzkrieg will finish them both, unless I stop him, and the way to do that is as Wonder Woman. And she takes off her hat and starts to spin in a TV series stylee.
Ding, 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 Wonder Woman.
And a golden glow surrounds her, explodes, and her Wonder Woman costume appears.
To many of the world's beleaguered citizens, she is a myth. And as a myth, she is a symbol of freedom. A woman free to develop her talents totally. Free to use those talents in the pursuit of justice. Free to fight for her beliefs. And yes, sometimes even free to lose.
Wonder Woman looking very Linda Carter-like, it must be said, running back out of the alleyway, and you can take a drink, listeners, because there was a dustbin behind her, leaping through the air past some soldiers who watch her, and she leaps then up to an open window in the building that her and Steve were just arriving at, and she climbs in the window to see Baron Blitzkrieg holding by the scruff of his jacket Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Another senior military officer looks on, aghast, as Baron Blitzkrieg is saying,
Guten Abend, Wunder Fräulein. How good of you to join us. And what a pity we won't be able to stay. Herr Churchill and General Auchinleck are coming with me on a small journey to the fatherland. And I am afraid, Fräulein, unless the Allies surrender immediately to the Reich, neither will ever return.
A small caption reads,
To be continued.
And then a large caption reads,
In the next issue of World's Finest Comics, Wonder Woman faces defeat at the hands of the man in the Doomsday Mask.
The man with the child in his eyes. Gosh, well, that rafted along at great speed, didn't it?
That was very exciting.
Yeah.
Baron Blitzkrieg's always fascinated me as a villain.
Mm.
He's kind of like a cross between Ultra Boy and Hourman sort of thing, in that he's got this energy in him and he can focus it into different abilities.
Yes.
But he can't do it for a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. He's a horrible, horrible character as well, as far as his personality goes.
Yes. I have to very quickly say it's interesting that you chose those two characters to make an example of, because when I got a letter printed in an issue of Impulse, I mentioned those two characters as being
There you go.
the only thing that could be cooler than what happened in the issue I was writing to praise. So that's lovely. I'm very pleased. That's a nice bit of continuity there
There
for
we are.
anyone for in the Dave Steele podcast universe. No, I agree. He's fascinating. It's really interesting reading these stories because obviously I think of them from the story from All Star Comics 31 to 35.
Yes.
Spoilers, but we're getting there a few years before we get there. So it's nice from that point of view to be here at his beginning, as it were, and to see his origin being told and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when I was reading those All-Star Squadron comics back in the day, I wasn't fully aware of quite the extent of his origin. I didn't realise he was like a camp commander and everything. That's genuinely hideous.
Yes.
Yeah, and I kind of didn't want to do my usual overtoned captions for that. I tried to tone it down a little bit for that, just out of, respects.
Yes.
Hopefully that showed. Sorry, folks.
Yes, absolutely. It's a weird thing. We should probably address it. I mean, there is a shot of people being led at gunpoint into the camp, and that's, at this point, obviously, when this story was published in 1977, World War II is very much in living memory at this point. Not so much now, because obviously a couple of generations further down the line, so its sensitivities at the time might not have been what they are nowadays. I think people, it's as far away from them as Blur versus Oasis is to us. You know what I mean? It's
fair enough. Also known as World War III. Yes.
Yeah. Not to trivialise what else we're talking about, but it's just it's an obvious sort of comparison. I remember when we did the first appearance of Jon Stewart, and there was one panel we didn't do because the dialogue was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's interesting just sort of like seeing how history is kind of observed at various, how attitudes have sort of changed. I mean, even just the description of how Blitzkrieg was injured, the way they keep saying the Jew. I mean, I think nowadays they'll probably say the young man.
Yeah, or the prisoner or something, yeah.
Yeah. But it's an interesting sort of mirror to, even just how attitudes to discussing history sort of change over the years. We're obviously much further away from the publication date of this story as the story was from the period that it's set. It's really interesting to consider all of that. I don't like seeing Hitler in stories. I really don't. It's just like...
As long as he's being punched, that's fine.
Yes, yeah.
Or his brain's being transplanted. That's always interesting.
Yeah.
But, as speaking as someone who has been to Auschwitz, I always think that it's something really important and something that should stay in memory of people.
Of course.
Because the atrocities were... Yeah, we're talking about a silly comic, that's fine, but, in real life...
Oh, yeah.
You genuinely can't imagine what they went through.
Exactly, yeah.
And I do think that it should be mandatory for everyone to go.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but I think you can only learn from it. That's it.
No, you're right. I completely understand. I mean, it's because you go there and there's boxes of shoes that belong to people who were killed there, and it's horrendous. You're right, and I seem to remember it's a while since I've read the All-Star Squadron stories, but I don't think they don't big up that side of them at that point, and that's only 6 or 7 years after this. I suppose
that's true.
It's a good way of highlighting. If Peter will let me swear just the once on the show, it just really does highlight how much of a bastard Blitzkrieg actually is.
Yeah. In
much more of a real life way rather than a guy who fights against the freedom fighters near Pearl Harbor.
Sure. Yeah, Yeah, that's why I think that the Red Skull's probably one of the best villains of all time, because he is totally irredeemable and he is just pure evil,
Yeah.
And Captain America's like literally the best of humanity up against him. It's the best kind of combination, as far as hero and arch villain are concerned. But,
I think so.
But this isn't a Captain America podcast. We'll leave that to our Earth 616 compatriots.
Captain America may appear before too long. One thing I want us to make a sort of note of is this story is set in April 1942, so we'll have to bear that in mind when we get to All-Star Squadron.
Of course, yes.
When that's set and all that, because I can imagine Roy bringing him back in the pages of All-Star Squadron is a very Roy thing to do, and we've talked about this off camera, as it were, like how Roy seems to have read some stuff but not read other stuff, and seems to pick and choose with what he brings back and what he deals with and references. So we'll have to bear some of this in mind when the Baron does turn up in the show again in the future. Some nice artwork in this, I will admit. I think some of the faces are maybe a bit lacking, but I love the layouts. It's very dynamic, moves along very quickly. So. Not a difficult read at all.
You're right in that there are some panels where Baron Blitzkrieg does look like Iron Man, but then again, it is Don Heck drawing, and he did draw Iron Man for years, especially in a profile shot. He does look like Iron Man, and the colouring doesn't help, with like the kind of yellow visor and like the purpley, pinky hoods.
Yeah.
It's very much Iron Man's colours.
Look at, very quickly, panel 3 of page 14. That's Iron Man.
I mean, that head is completely Iron Man. It's just Tony, adjusting his helmet.
If you pardon the expression. We'll put plenty of panels from this issue up on the socials this week, listeners, so you can have a look. We'll try and put those ones up, even though it's the same page as the transformation. We'll try and put them up together so you can have a look. Is this the first appearance of Winston Churchill on the show?
I was trying to think.
I
believe
remember.
It is, yeah. I genuinely don't think he has appeared before, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting we're in this kind of retro wartime period, because a lot of stuff like that's popping up around about this era.
We haven't done too many World War II stories,
Mm-hmm.
which is surprising given the Justice Society and all that. But there's obviously there'll be
Yeah.
plenty more to come
Mm-hmm.
in that area this year as we go through this particular Wonder Woman period. And obviously we've got DC Special 29 coming up before too long, and yada yada. And I mean, the likeness of Churchill is obviously very studied and very careful. It almost looks like a photograph's been
It does,
cut out and glued in, doesn't it?
Yep. I think Don spent most of his time doing that on the page. When he did this page, everything else was just like da, 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 and then it's like, right, let's get this stock image of Churchill and almost trace it.
Yeah.
Thing is, it's quite a small head on him, so
I know,
but he's instantly recognisable, and it's not just because there's a scar there. You know, he's literally, if you looked at him, he's instantly recognisable as Churchill.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. It does look very photorealistic, as photorealistic as you can get for this time.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tracing or something like that, really.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the comedy Fifth Columnist.
Yes.
He was fun. The Cockney Dick Van Dyke Fifth Columnist.
And that's quite an interesting way of Wonder Woman sort of learning the origin of the baddie, that this guy is clued up enough to know this and to be able to tell her. That's quite interesting. It's quite a Jerry Conway sort of thing to do, I suppose.
Yeah. And actually, that image, when he's shooting at Wonder Woman, the close-up of his face there, you can tell it's Don Heck with Vinnie Coletta.
Sure.
I mean, the two of them blend together perfectly in that panel. You know,
sure.
There's no other two people it could be looking at that panel. Yeah, it's very good. Very distinctive.
Yes. Strong agreed. So, there's not really any contemporary correspondence worth looking at for this one. There are letters, pages, and models finds at this point, but nothing really pertinent to this story. But we'll have more from the contemporary correspondence when we do issue 247 in 7 days' time, of course.
Hey. But that doesn't stop you from corresponding with us. Of course, you can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com and tell us what you thought of this story. What do you think about Baron Blitzkrieg and his origins? Is he a good villain? Is he just genuinely really, really bad? Is it a combination of both? Let us know. You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media, because we're putting up lots of lovely bonus material for this and, of course, every episode. On Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is, of course, the number 2 for all of our socials.
It certainly is. Listeners, if you're enjoying what we're doing, please consider spreading the word, telling your pals, or sharing some of our posts on your own socials. If you're feeling super generous, you could consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcasts and leaving us a positive review. It feels like we've not had one in a very long time. Equally, you could go to our coffee page via our link tree and buy Peter the price of a beverage as he edits all our little fluffs out to make this as smooth and seamless as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right, Peter?
Oh, it most certainly is.
So, Baron Blitzkrieg has Prime Minister Winston Churchill by the throat. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen next?
You'll have to tune in and find out on that bombshell. I've been Peter.
And I've been David, and we'll see you in 7 days on
the Earth2 Podcast.
Transmatter Cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime. For General Adrian Hawkins, USA, the effect is still unsettling, despite his 3 months tenure as liaison officer for the British and...
Thanks, Jerry.
Ba ba ba.